Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased on behalf of the Ministry of Tourism and the St. Kitts Tourism Authority to give an update on the state of the industry and where we sit as we stand right now in preparation for our borders opening on October 31st. So we just quickly want to give you an overview of our brand and the opportunities that we see out there in the marketplace as it speaks to the destination. We see the destination as one that is open and it's uncrowded, and that is very essential right now for persons to feel safe in an environment like that if they're planning a vacation. Also, we see that our hotels, even though we have brand hotels, they have a boutique feel, and that is extremely critical to what is happening in terms of where they have to stay, and they don't have to worry about overcrowding. Also, we know that both islands, we have a lot of activities, both from the rainforest to our marine life. And so that's a great opportunity. Persons can actually go to the beach and they can do a rainforest hike. But most importantly, St. Kitts and Nevis, along with the Caribbean region, we're seen as a destination that has exceptionally managed COVID-19, and that helps us in selling the destination. We've received quite a few accolades over the past 6 months. We've been recognized by BBC, Sky News, Forbes magazine, Travel and Leisure, and even the CDC in ranking the destination as low level in terms of the management of COVID-19. And so we'll be using this as we speak to the press, as we speak to the travel trade, to educate travel agents, consumers, and tour operators about what's happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, as I said previously, there's a Caribbean outlook, and St. Kitts and Nevis as a part of the Caribbean. Yes, there are a few countries that have it. We are being recognized for the management and so of COVID-19, and so we're ensuring that the destination maintains that ranking. And we're asking everyone, as Mr. Samuel, Dr. Laws, Dr. Wilkinson have been saying, when we reopen our borders, it is an all-society approach, because tourism alone cannot stand on its own. Everyone is a frontline worker. I'd just like to show you what our 60-second video looks like in the marketplace. You will notice that in the video we didn't have a voiceover, and that was strategically done. We wanted to appeal to the person's senses, to their eyes and to their ears. And the reason being is that there's so many already videos out there for destinations that speak to there will be a time when you return, or we will see you again. We're in this together. St. Kitts wanted to separate itself, and we wanted to ensure that when persons were coming to the destination, they would awake your sense of wonder, meaning what would you think about coming to a destination as ours? Culturally speaking, what we have to offer, beyond sun, beach and sand, everything, and it appealed to the senses. And so we want it to be different, and I hope that everyone seeing the video understands why we did it this particular way. You'll see on TV right now the different kind of ads that we're using. We're trying to make sure that they're persons, not a lot of crowds. And it's also showing a laid back This is all digital. We're not doing any print at this point in time because the world right now, as it relates to print, is very expensive, and most persons are receiving their information digitally. This is a double-page ad that we took out for yachting. Previously, we have been very limited in terms of what we could do as it speaks to our budget, but as you saw from the first slide, our branding has been, in terms of our marketing strategy, has been revised, and yachting above leisure travel is going to be very essential for St. Kitts and Nevis as we rebuild the tourism industry. And this niche market, with the absence of cruise at this point in time, we're looking for it to assist us in providing opportunities to earn revenue for our stakeholders from different services that can be provided, in addition to our accommodations that are open in phase one. So many of our stakeholders would have heard that the Tourism Authority, in conjunction with the Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Health, we've been doing training since July 27th. And this training covers all sectors in the tourism industry, and this allows for persons, it's a two-prong approach. It speaks to the actual training of an individual, but it also requires for the business or the operation to be inspected because they work hand in hand. You have the individual trained, but we have to make sure that the way in which they operate, the hotel or the taxi operator or the water sports operator or the catamaran, that they are within the COVID-19 regulations. When they have gone through the training and inspection, along with Ministry of Health, then they're issued a seal. And this is what the seal looks like. It's St. Kitts and Nevis, travel approved. And what will happen on both our websites, this seal is used for international travelers to identify these are the particular accommodations, attractions, or if you want to just say services that have been approved. So this actually says to travel agents, it says to the travel trade, it says to the consumer who may be looking on it themselves, our website, or Nevis Tourism Authority's website, that these are the entities that have been approved, they've met the criteria for COVID-19. For those persons who have gone through the training, their certificates look like this. If they're part of a company, this is what their certificate will look like. So for cruise, I know St. Kitts and Nevis has had the benefit over the last 2 seasons to achieve 1 million passengers respectively. And it has allowed for a lot of economic growth for society over the last couple of years. Most recently, yesterday, the CDC, even though they said that they would lift the no-sail order October 31st, they are advising U.S. travelers not to take cruises. We also saw this happen in the UK as early as July, where the UK government, through the Foreign Overseas Office, they were advising UK travelers not to take cruises. So as we look to the U.S. market for cruising, there's that concern, and we do get a lot of ships that come out of the UK. So we will see how this evolves, but as we all know, cruise is very important to the destination, and we'll be watching to see as the months progress. I'd like to say, though, Minister Grant is a part of a stakeholder group that Prime Minister Mia Mottley chairs the committee, and Minister Grant is on the committee that actually speaks to the CARICOM nations and OECS, looking at protocols for that when cruise does start, all destinations meet the minimum standards. So we'll see what happens with cruise, but at this point in time, our energy and our focus is on stay over. So on Saturday, our borders open. There'll be no quarantine for CARICOM bubble travelers. International travelers are required to travel to vacation in place, and returning nationals and residents are required to quarantine. Dr. Laws will go through in more detail what will happen as it speaks to all of the travel requirements and the protocols. But it's very important at this time to understand that we're still waiting to hear from LIAT as it speaks to their start date, because there was an announcement by the Prime Minister, Gaston Brown of Antigua, that they will be restarting service. We have not got an official start date yet and what their route will be. What we do know is that there will be 4 planes. However, we are looking at other carriers, such as Inter-Caribbean and Caribbean Airlines, to see what options will be available for St. Kitts and Nevis. So most persons are very much aware of what the accommodations are, and Dr. Laws will go through it in detail. But it's very important that for those of you who are in the travel trade industry and you're watching at this point in time, both the St. Kitts and Nevis websites respectively have this information available, and it's very important that we don't confuse international travelers, which are our high-risk travelers, with CARICOM bubble and returning nationals. We have to be very clear where everyone is saying so that there's no miscommunication. Pre-COVID, we had about 1,800 rooms in our room stock, and so as we begin phase 1, we will have 620 rooms, and this is allowing us to rebuild the tourism industry. And it's very important that with the all-society approach, everyone understands that for us to continue to open and to provide other opportunities for other accommodations to participate, we have to be successful in phase 1. We can't say, okay, when I get to phase 2 and my business is open, then I'll pay attention. No. At this point in time, for tourism to be successful for St. Kitts and Nevis, everyone has to play their part. It's not left up just to the tourism sector. We're all on the front line, and it's very, very important. Our schedule right now, we have our first flights on November 7th, both American Airlines and BA. All of this is fluid. These are flights that are loaded in the schedule for both airlines. We've seen how things change. So yes, I know there could be questions about is there a flight in December. Please note, we don't have the confirmed schedules for December at this time. This is for November, and right now this is the schedule that we're working with. It's very important that all of us who are in the tourism sector understand what the seating capacity is going to be as it speaks to starting out and the phased approach for our tour operators and taxi operators that will be operating 1 to 7 days for international travelers from the airport to their particular accommodation, or 8 to 14 days if they're going to be participating in the approved excursions and attractions. These are guidelines to allow for safety, to ensure that there's physical distancing, to ensure that when persons have on their masks, because they're traveling with high-risk travelers, that we're taking all the precautions based on the size of the vehicles. We had a meeting yesterday with the taxi and tour operator fraternity, and we discussed this also with them. So Dr. Laws will speak to more of this, and I spoke to it a while ago. Tours and excursions, they will be classified 8 to 14 days for international travelers, and after the 14 days, they're free to integrate once they've tested negative. So it's very key right now. We're in a rebuilding phase of tourism. It's very important that we understand that where we sit right now in terms of our room stock, airlift, and how it has affected our economies, we're in a rebuilding phase. We're looking back to probably around 2008. American Eagle used to fly. We have a lot of service providers, regardless of the sector, that depend on the tourism industry. However, as we reopen, it's a phased approach, and it is protocol not to restrict industry opportunity remain safe and that we do not have community spread. We're not saying that we must not have community spread. There are destinations right now that there is a flag as it relates to community spread, and we are seeing the impact that is happening in the travel trade in terms of questions being asked in relation to those destinations. Creativity. We're not going back to pre-COVID. We're dealing with COVID era. So our operations, the services and amenities that we offer, we have to think about how we're going to deliver our service so we earn our income. It's not how it was previously. And it's an investment. It's not a one-off investment that you're making today and in 3 months it's going to be gone. All of the specialists and everyone has been saying that COVID is going to be with us for a while, even with the vaccine. So if we think about the reset of the industry, some say it's spring when the vaccine comes out, but let's just say it's 2 years from now. It's an investment that you're doing not only for yourself, to protect yourself, but for your business. And it will take an all-society approach. So at this time, I would just like to say thank you to the COVID-19 task force over the last 2 or 3 weeks, working with the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, Nevis Tourism Authority, and also the Ministry of Health in Nevis in helping us to get some of our stakeholders, accommodations, attractions, and excursions certified. We certainly learned a lot, and I think for us going through the next couple of months, it's going to be a learning experience, but I sincerely hope that everyone will play their part. Thank you.